Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Israel. We want to welcome you to another teaching from the Bereshit or Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to cover verse 5. We have been going over, we have been discussing, we've been laying down the groundwork of the creation story, taking it out of its translation in English and translating it back into its original form, which is Hebrew. We've seen some things, Shabbat Shalom, Koti. We've seen some things that have unfolded before our eyes, and they have, I can honestly say that they've energized me. I've been studying this, but I finally, honestly, got a chance to write down all the words and put them into form this morning. It's just, you got to see the picture, and that's what I've been telling everybody, man. It's a picture. It's it's a painting that Yah did, and this painting brought forth what transpired in our existence. We've had this habit of believing that the creation story was a story of the very first man and the very first day. And as we break these words down into Hebrew, we're starting to see some things that are a little bit different. This is a great monumental day in teaching. I want to give all praises to the Most High Yah, first of all, for allowing me the opportunity to come before you, to share with you the words. I thank him for the Ruach HaKodesh, for allowing me the insight, and by his spirit that we receive the insight. His spirit works as a messenger to us. It guides us. Like we say, is the man outside, it's the shepherd. It guides us upon the set aside path. So I'm grateful to have you here, to the four channels that are in the room. Thank you for coming. I'm sure there will be more as we wait for Brother Malak and Brother Yosef to come forward. I want to share with you this. I told you in the beginning when we started Genesis to put aside everything that you've learned. This is a process that I'm going through too. Like I told y'all, I spent 6 years in Genesis before he allowed me to go and teach Exodus last month. I mean, not last month, but during feast season. I mean, honestly, just go through the whole book. Then he brings me back to Genesis because there was something that I missed. And you can't hold on to Western teaching and teach this. I'm starting to realize the more we hold on to the ideologies that we were taught in the church, in Western society, we're more and more beginning to miss our mark. We're missing who Yah is. We're missing his functionality. We're missing our purpose, and we're missing the grand scheme of the story. As long as you hold on to the creation story as it was told to you in Western ideology or thought, you missed it. I am starting to realize just how much I've missed. I'm asking each and every one of you to strip away, like Paul did, allow the scales to fall from your eyes. And we pray that the Ruach HaKodesh comes and deals with you so that you can move forward in your thoughts, because Western society has brainwashed us and has tricked us so bad that we believe anything that our oppressors tell us. And Yah wants us to strip away. Oh, come ye out of her. when he says this, he means to come out not only physically, but spiritually, emotionally. If you are connected to her mentally, you may as well not move, because you can't free your mind. Then there's no need for you to go anywhere, because you will carry westernized thought or westernized processes everywhere that you go. This is very important for us as Hebrew Israelites to understand. We got to start stripping away the layers of oppression, the layers of stuff that's encoded in our DNA. It kind of makes me realize when it talks about what a man soweth, he should also reap, because what we have sown is a falsehood and a false narrative, and we have added to it, we've embraced it, we've walked around with it. And what has happened is we have taken on the image of the Christian church, and it has allowed us to accept its God, it's allowed us to accept its Messiah. And we know for sure that the person that we see in the personage of Caesar Borgia, or the one they call Jesus Christ, the one that came in another name, is not the one who the Father had deemed as his son, or as the Word made flesh, which is Yeshua HaMashiach, or Yahusha, or however you want to pronounce it, Yahusha HaMashiach. And because of this, we have been trapped, brainwashed, and controlled, because the beast system wants to emulate Yah's system. Understand this. Hasatan knows no other system but Yah's system. So he wants to emulate it. But you have to understand, when you work in dysfunction, you operate in pride. When you operate in pride and dysfunction, you put yourself before Yah. And this causes a ripple effect. And what it has caused is us to embrace doctrines that are not of Yah. Shalom, Brother Tori. Remember when in Thessalonians 2 and 12, I think it's 2 Thessalonians 12 and 2, where it says that Yah will turn us over to a strong delusion, that we will believe a lie. And as long as I've been in the church, I never preached that, knowing, not understanding that the strong delusion was the very building that I was set in. Understanding that Yah has put us over to a strong delusion, that we would believe a lie. Remember, Yeshua HaMashiach said, his way is narrow. The gate that leads to salvation is narrow, but the gate that leads to damnation is wide. How many Christians you got on that road? It's a hole in them. Oh, Shalom, Haki.
Shabbat Shalom, my brother. Shabbat Shalom, family.
I'm just going over the things with them before we go into this chapter. Into the verse, because I'm starting to see in the layout of the verse that you're going to hear some things that don't make sense, some words that, when they're translated back to the original language, don't make sense in the passage unless you see the picture. And what we've already drawn a conclusion is that in the Genesis story, or the creation story, the story that is told in Bereshit chapter 1, we're starting to realize as we go through verse by verse. We've been on this for 6 weeks and we've only made it to 5 verses. So I'm telling you, it's deeper than what you think. It's more complex than what you think. It isn't like he just one day showed up and decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this, and this. There's a story behind what he did, and it's all in the language. And by picking up the language, Shalom, Makoti, how are you doing? If you pick up on the language, then you can embrace, truly embrace the work that Abba Yah did. Because what his work was to bring forth a people into a land of chaos, and to bring forth order into darkness. That's the whole story in a nutshell. But But to break it down, you need to go through steps. You need to take baby steps. And so I'm glad that you're here. Go ahead and take your time to introduce yourself real quick. And we'll take your time to introduce yourself. That real quick part didn't go with that statement. Take your time, introduce yourself to everyone, and then we'll get going because we got some new people in the chat.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Made it to another Shabbat, another Sabbath, another Shabbat. And just grateful to the Most High for all of you, to the ARC DFW family and the ARC family all over the ARC Fresno and ARC family all over the world, to all of the Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters who are celebrating Shabbat on this day. The word is going forth today in many venues, many cities, many communities, many states, many nations all over the world. We're happy about that, and we rejoice in that. Also rejoice in the fact that the Most High has again blessed us with another 7 days, another week. He's kept us and he has preserved us during this unprecedented time with all of the pestilence and the disease and viruses and pandemics, whatever you want to call it. We're just so grateful to be here with you today. We're also grateful for the fact that we're into the code of creation. Before there was a Torah, the Most High spoke it into existence. That's the 6 days that he worked. The 6 days he put in work, speaking creation into existence, and then he formed man on the 6th day. And then on the 7th day, he rested. He decreed and declared from creation that the 7th day, the Shabbat, would be a day of rest for him initially, and then for all of us who call on his name, who are called by his name. And those of us who are called by his name should look forward to this day as to all of the holy days and the feast days, but most particularly looking forward to the 7th day Shabbat. In this instance, a day of rest, a day of relaxation, a day of refreshing, a day of renewal, a day of repentance, as every day should be. And we're just thrilled to be here and to be a part of what Yah is doing in these last days. He's given he's given me a few minutes to introduce myself. I'm going to do more edification than I am going to do introducing. But my name is Brother Yosef. Again, one of the brothers who have been called to lead the ARC DFW, to minister to the ARC DFW. We're just thrilled to be with you today, and also thrilled that we're able to celebrate the Shabbat with you. See Brother Malak is coming on. It's always good to see him, my brother. Again, we want to be in prayer as we get started again. Continue to be in prayer for Yemi and his family, Yemi and his health. That the Father would restore his health. The challenge that the most recent challenge that he's going through right now, I've been through that 3 times. And so I know the challenges and the frustration. Any of you have ever been, like we used to say in Christian church, you're sick and couldn't get well? I mean, that the illness kind of lingered with you. It's so frustrating. It is really it's frustrating, and it can lead to depression and confusion, because you're praying and you're trying to do everything right, doing what the doctors. And I'm just kind of sharing my testimony with you. This was years ago. The third bout, the third go around with that particular illness, the doctors were telling me that they couldn't get rid of it. They had given me different types of medication, different types of therapy, different types of antibiotics, In that particular case, I was doing just like Yemi. So Yemi, I feel you. You know, you're preaching and you're ministering, and you can't even. I mean, it was almost a couple of years. I would be preaching and ministering, and I would get going. I would get going to this going to this coughing fit, and it's frustrating. It's not debilitating, but it's frustrating. It seems to limit you. But what I learned and what Yemi is learning, and what all of us learn as we go into ministry and we're dealing with certain thorns in the flesh, is that the grace of the Most High is sufficient. And even when we think that we haven't hit a home run or done our best, the Father takes whatever we do or whatever we use and we're able to do, and he hits his own home run with that. And so again, be in prayer for him. Also, and I'm kind of spreading the love here. You all be in prayer for my brother Malak. Brother Malak is entrepreneur, and he's all over the highways, the dangerous highways, and the roadways, and all through the week. And I don't worry about him, but we're constantly, I constantly call his name in prayer, because that driving is one of the most dangerous jobs, one of the, not job, but it's most dangerous professions amongst all professions. It's just very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous to be on those roads and to be driving, not so much yourself, but the other so-and-sos that are on the road. And so please, those of you that are on with us, please be in prayer for Brother Malak through the week, as he does hundreds and sometimes thousands of miles. I'll say thousands of miles a week, different venues, different states, and the stress and strain of that. Be in prayer for these brothers. Also continue to be in prayer for the ARC DFW, as we continue to do the work of the Most High. And we're always in prayer for each of you. Our prayers that the Father would, first of all, that he would, more than anything, that he would open our eyes, and we might be able to continue to see, understand, and know the truth, and that he would give us the courage to be able to share the truth with others, and also the courage to be able to unlearn the way of the heathen. The scriptures tell us to learn not the way of the heathen, but I throw my modern version into it. We already in it. We know it. We have to unlearn it. And so when we're talking about come out from among them, the first thing we have to do is the battle is in our mind, because the spirit man, the outward man perisheth day by day. I mean, the outward man perisheth, but the inward man is strengthened day by day. And so the mind, unlearning the way of the heathen. That's what we are right now. Unlearning, not learn not. We've already learned it. We have to unlearn it. And so we're in the process of doing that. And that's a process, brothers and sisters. The conditioning that we've had, those of us who have been in Christianity or raised up in Christianity or some other religion, spent all of our formative years being indoctrinated and indoctrinated into the doctrine of demons, having to unlearn all of that. It takes a while. It takes a while, and again, it can be frustrating at times, and it can be disheartening at times. But just keep stepping, because the scriptures tell us, "He that endured to the end shall be saved." And then in Revelation, the Hamashiach tells us again, "He that overcometh shall inherit all things." And so I'm gonna yield it over to Brother Malak for him to introduce himself, and then we'll get back to Yemi and Maury Yemi, and then we'll get this thing started. Brother Malak.
Shabbat shalom, family. Shabbat shalom. Again, thank you again for having me, Brother Yemi and Brother Yosef. I spoke with Brother Yosef earlier, man, earlier, I just got in late last night, man. I had to do a 24-hour basically drive, man. I'm wore out. But you know, again, like brother Joseph said, man, I'm grateful to be here because actually, when I went to Kansas, man, I ran across some black ice, man, and I didn't know it till my truck started sliding and I couldn't get traction. So the Most High protected me in that. And, and I'm just happy to be here, man. I'm grateful for the Most High's word. I'm grateful for His blessing. I'm grateful for you, brothers. I'm grateful for all Israel, the brothers that are teaching out there and other organizations, the sisters out there that are teaching, the sisters, and so on and so forth. So for me, family, I'm just a humble but also an aggrieved man. I'm aggrieved also because the sister man has his foot on our neck, but we can look in our records and we can see what our ancestors went through, so we can use those things as examples to actually break the minds of the adversaries. So we have to renew our mind, like Brother Joseph said. We have to change our mind. We have to come out of the pagan ritual. We have to come out of the carnal mindset. We have to come out of the systematic demonization of us as a people and live in those stereotypes. So again, man, I want to thank you, brothers, for having me. I want to thank the family for listening. I want to thank the Most High, for being at this point. Even though it seemed like it's harsh, but I want to thank the Most High because again, there's a lot of our family that still haven't made that transition to accept who they are and to renounce this perverted form of what they call Christianity, and come back to Torah. Thank you, family. Thank
Hallelujah. So I'm gonna piece everything together at the end, but I want you to read Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, real quick. And then I'm gonna read it as it's written. Well, I'm not gonna read it in Hebrew, but I'm gonna read it, the layout of how the words are in English, how they should properly be laid out. So everybody, if you have your Bible, Beresh, I want to thank you for coming joining in with us as well on this day. Zakaria, I'm grateful for you, sister.
you. Say 5, Yemi?
Yeah, verse 5.
Okay.
Chapter 1, verse 5.
Okay, let me go. I'm coming back.
You want me to go ahead and read it or wait for him?
Let's wait for. Let me go ahead and pray. Father Yah, we thank you once again for your word. We thank you for your word made flesh that dwelt amongst us and became our kinsman and redeemer. The word that manifested itself and took all sin upon itself, that we have a chance for eternal life. Yah, we thank you for your word that is written, that we may be able to read, understand, and study it. We thank you for your Ruach HaKodesh that brings forth understanding and leads us down this pathway of righteousness for your name's sake. For all things are done to honor you, and all things should be done for your glory. All we pray, we say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so go ahead and read. Go ahead and read it.
Bereshit, Genesis 1, verse 5 says, and Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. The evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay.
You want to keep going?
No. And then what I have is, and called Elohim light, and darkness he called night. And there was morning and day, the Ahad. So that's how it should read. As we see, it reads different in the Bible. It should read, and called Elohim the light day, and the darkness called night. And there was morning day first or first, and that the first. So I want to go into this and break this down. First word is the first words is and called. This word is I got. Oh yeah, by the way, I got Sister April here. She gonna say the words for me. Cause guess who can't say them all? Okay, so it's the first word.
Wait,
No,
why you cover?
Warikova.
Why you
Warikova. This breaks down to calling an assembly. So when we break this down, it's Strong's word 71221. Strong's word 7121, and in the Hebrew Bible lexicon, it's word 1434. It's on page 560. This word in its root means to call together an assembly. And so then the next word we have is Elohim. Well, we know that Elohim is Strong's word 430, Hebrew lexicon word 1012H. This word means to bring together, to unite in oath, treaty, or covenant. And this oath should have curses and blessings tied to it, just like the curses and the blessings of Deuteronomy 28. Now, we get into these words that I really wanted to hit on today. So those words are the first. So first, he called an assembly. Who called the assembly? Elohim called the assembly. He called his assembly together, and it was covenanted. Okay, and he called light. Well, we know the word for light is in this writing it's or, but we'll say lower. Or is order. So this word light, like we said in the other days, that light is order. The Hebrew meaning of this word is to put something in a box, and it means like putting it in a box to organize it. So order. When he says let there be light, he's let there be order, and so he called order light. Okay, and so when we talk about this order, we see that it is a lamed, which means to teach or to control or to guide like a shepherd would. The next letter in that word is aleph, which is an ox. So he guided an ox that is connected to leadership. So this word is to guide, the strength, connected or pinned together. The second letter in that word is va. It means to pin something together. And the last letter is resh, which is a picture of a man's head or leadership. So the word ohor or lahor or lower or in proper pronunciation is to put things in a specific order. So this is what I'm seeing in the writings of Genesis. He is going to this place that was out of order, and he is setting order in this place. I want y'all to understand this is very important for you to understand, because by him setting order in this place, he is also going to have to create something to keep the order. Do you understand? This is why when me and Brother Malak were talking about it, we don't see the creation story as if mm, there was nothing here, and then he just spoke stuff here. We see the creation story as if there was something here that he had not been paying attention to, that wasn't deemed important for him, and something happened to bring his attention to it. And so when he saw that it was in darkness and void and without form, he had to bring order to it, because Yah is a Yah, or is our, Yah is our Elohim, and he is a Elohim of order. He wants things to function properly. And this is why he always says after each creation or each verse that it was good, it was told. Because when he looked upon it, he gazed upon his work. He saw that the work brought back function to something that was dysfunctional. This is why I'm telling you, do not look at the creation story in the sense, look, you got to be able to look at the big picture. If you use the creation story for what it's worth, you would think that the world started 6,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the fossil record, I want you to think about this. If you say the world was created 6,000 years ago, then explain the dinosaurs. Then explain the fossil record. Then explain this earth being carbonated as old as it is. And I know you're saying, well, we got to get away from Western science. We got to use them to get where we need to go. We understand, some of us got an understanding that he needed to put a people on this earth that was going to carry out what he wanted carried out in this place. And this is why the Negro or the Hebrew man and woman are the most hated beings on the earth, because we are a representation of Yah. And everything else on this earth cannot hold a light to us, because we were made in his image and in his likeness. We were the only thing. Look, this is why we are compassionate like we are. When I hear black people say, I'm tired of forgiving these folks for killing us and beating us, this is what we were built to do. It's in our DNA. Can't you understand when the scripture says, forgive, for ye shall be forgiven?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact that we need forgiveness. We are so compassionate and so loving, and we take on the monikers of every people that we are surrounded by. And this is why the Bible warns us not to connect with them, not to join them in their deeds, not take on the ways of the heathen. Right now, we got more Hebrews getting ready to celebrate Christmas than probably we got our captors. They hold on to these holidays like they're Roman and they're gold, and like they were here when they were created, and not understanding the purpose of the meaning behind this, that the system is putting them there to pull you further away from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So as we realize that when Yah spoke order into this world, he had to put in motion something. And this word day, or yom, let me go to the Hebrew Bible lexicon. Go to page 141, Joe. Joseph.
You said, are you saying page 141? You saying page 141 or
Page 141.
don't have a 141? You talking about 141? You talking about the number 141?
The page in the Bible lexicon.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. My mind is okay. I'm sorry. Y'all just strike that from the record. 141. Okay.
Okay, I want you to look at Hebrew word number 1222. 1221. 1220. I'm sorry, you got me messed up now.
Yeah, man. My bad.
I want you
Okay.
to, now this word is a 2-letter root. So the word day or yom is spelled,
Yeah.
here we go. It's spelled Yod Mem.
Mhm.
The word yom is spelled Yod Va. I'm gonna do Mem or Yod Va. Okay, so we always talk about this is how this word is spelled. And I want y'all to look at the picture of how the word is spelled. And I want you to tell me what you see. You see it?
You see the mem is the flowing water, and the yod is the hand.
Mhm.
What does Yod represent?
Which yod represent
The hand representing work.
Okay, so the work that is connected to what? What does Mem represent? There's
water
what else?
The sea
flow.
What else?
says storms is the sea or other large body of water is the place of storms and heavy surf.
Keep going.
The parent root is closely related to hey, mem.
Keep going. So
Sea, also the direction of the sea, the west.
there we go. So this word meaning his his hand was connected to the sea, or his hands were connected to the water. Remember, Elohim, in a sense, it means to he who divides or he who separates waters from waters.
Mhm.
In this, he is starting to pull apart things. So when you look at the days, he is separating the day from the night. He is pulling apart things. And this writing is showing his strength to separate the flow
Mhm.
or the waters. Then it talks about the next word is darkness, and we went to darkness before. It means to obscure something. And so let's look past darkness. But he called, okay, so it says, and he called the light day. So the order was him being able to separate or to pull apart something. You
Mhm.
remember when we were kids and all our cousins would be at the house and a fight would break out? You know there was always gonna be a fight with the cousins. A fight would break out and your daddy would come home, and what would he do first after he beat you? He's gonna beat you first, but then what is he gonna do?
Put everybody in separate rooms.
That's
That's what they
right.
used to do to us.
He gonna separate this thing. He gonna separate it, and he gonna come down to the truth. He really don't care about the truth. He really wants peace.
Mhm.
He wants peace in his home. And I was like, let me separate something. Well, what was he separating? Well, he called an assembly. This is what people don't realize. First words, and he called. Who called? Elohim. He called an assembly of order, which further presses me down that road, Malak, of who was here. What was he putting in order? Who was he talking to? And we could go down the road and say that there were other men, other nations, because we know that the earth or erect basically means a region or land that was separated by tribes and by nations. Well, in this verse 5, he's showing that he is separating. What's going on, what's going on, Shalom? Yes, Torah. His order is Torah. So he spoke Torah into the world. When we look at the meaning of this, when he spoke light into the world order, he spoke Torah in the sense that he put things back into its proper alignment. And he brought back peace home, or peace onto this land. But what tripped me out about this was that when he did this, he called together, or he called an assembly.
Mhm.
Who called the assembly? Elohim did. And this assembly was to place order over the day and over the night. So he had to put them in their proper order. This is why I'm trying to tell people, don't fall for this lunar Sabbath mess, because there was days before there was a sun and a moon.
Mhm.
There were days and nights. So how can you control the day? How can you say that the Sabbath falls on a certain day when we also understand that days are separate units? It takes 7 days to make 1 week. And the days were before the lunar cycle. So the lunar cycle actually follows the day. The day don't follow the lunar cycle. The sun and moon were put here to do what?
Feast days.
Right.
Signs by signs and seasons and days and years.
But what would they put? What was the sun put in the sky for? It
To rule the day.
To rule the day. And the moon to do what?
Rule the night.
So if that be the case, and you fall for the banana in the tailpipe, saying that what you were basically saying is that the day is depending on the movement of the sun and the moon. That's not true, because when you look at the fall of Jericho, there still was a day.
Mhm.
And the moon, and the sun stayed still. The
Mhm.
day didn't, the sun did.
Mhm.
If you go by the fact that if you look, okay, so Sabbath people, you people that follow a lunar calendar, I want to tell you something. Your calendar is already off.
It's off.
Why is your calendar already off?
It's
First of all,
already. Oh,
huh?
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I thought you were asking a question, but that was a rhetorical question that you were getting ready to answer yourself. So go ahead.
But go ahead and answer. Go ahead and answer.
It's all from the beginning, because the sun and the moon weren't called till the 4th day. So you already 4 days off from jump, from Bereshit.
Mm-hmm.
4 days off.
Go ahead.
No, that's I got it off. I got that shot off. It was just, I say it like that because then in my mind, my eyes light up, because again, brothers and sisters, I grew up in Christianity, and we read Genesis. I done taught Genesis in Bible college level classes, and you never, without the Hebrew, you just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the days, the fact that it's a simple fact, and even what we'll say argument or debate, which we really don't like to do. It's fruitless, in my opinion. But if you present this to a person out of the word, out of Torah, and we'll say Torah only, even if they're Torah only, or especially if they're Torah only, and they come to you with a lunar Sabbath. And Malak is giving us this argument, we'll say argument, but this line that we can share. Okay, you said lunar Sabbath. The moon wasn't in existence until the 4th day.
Mm-hmm.
So the moon don't determine nothing. The sun don't determine nothing. They just set there to rule.
Thank you. The day is determined by Yah's word. He divided it. So the day is specified. The moon is there to govern the night, and the sun is there to govern the day. It's set in stone. That's what it does. Why the sun? Look, the day still existed even when the sun stayed hanging high when we fought the war of Jericho. But when the sun went down, started a new day. The days were still intact. Just because the moon didn't function or the sun didn't function, he held back their authorities.
Mm-hmm.
Because he called it. The sun don't call it. The moon don't call it. Y'all call it. That's what you're saying. That's you know.
Facts.
That goes to Mark chapter 2, verse 27. And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens is the Sabbath was already established, you know, without the sun or the moon, you know. So if you use the moon or the sun to establish the Sabbath, then what happens is you begin to worship the moon or the sun. You know what I'm saying? And the Sabbath was made to be worshipped, you know what I'm saying, on that day for man to rest with the Most High, not dictated by the sun or the moon.
What,
you know, giving the sun or the moon the authority over the Most High.
Facts.
You know.
And listen, every statement that he makes, he observed his work and he saw that his work was good. And so was the end of that day. You understand? It was the day was set by work. When he finished his work, then he ended the day.
That's right. There you go. There you go.
I want people to understand this. The moon had nothing to do with his work. It was a piece of work.
That's right.
He looked at it. This is good. Okay. Next day.
Next text. Exactly.
I don't. Go ahead.
No, I was saying I didn't want to jump. I didn't want to jump ahead of your lesson, but like you were saying, in chapter 5, when the Most High, do me a favor, brother Joseph, read verse 5 again for me. Read verse 5 again.
And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness night. And the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay. Now, Yemi, what I want you to do is give it to us with the Hebrew thought. Give it to us again in the Hebrew thought.
Yeah, because it's completely different.
Yeah.
And called Elohim light, the light day, and the dark he called night. And there was morning day first.
Read it one more time. I'll see. I'm trying to pick up on something. Read it one more time.
And called Elohim light day, and darkness he called night. And there was morning day first.
Now, this is what I see. Now, other people may see something different. The Most High, he did the function, then he described the function. Versus English, when they would say the function. No, they would say the thing, then they would describe the function. Like in English, they said the red car or fast car. The Most High was saying, he was saying opposite. He showed this was the action, and then he gave the action a name.
Right, he described his work.
So it's function.
Work. There you go.
It's
function
first.
Verse.
Yeah, the function is first.
And then
he described what that function is. Yes.
Wait a minute. I gotta hit that. Oh, I'm about to scream.
About to bust your head.
how you can tell when Yah is speaking, and this is out of verse 5. If you're paying attention, when Yah speaks, it works. You bring function. The word of Yah causes whatever to come to be functional. So, in my as a man, as a woman, as a child, as a family, as an assembly or a church or whatever you want to call it, the word of Yah, how you can tell the word of Yah is at work in that person or in that organization or in that situation is functional.
Right.
Is it operating? Is it doing that which it was called
right.
to
Exactly.
do?
That's right. That's
So
right. That's right.
I'm the man, but you're not
But do you
teaching,
function?
you're not leading, you're not the
There you
strength,
go.
you're not upholding, you're not the ob.
Yeah.
You call that. That ain't what the Most High call.
The motion, exactly. Matter of fact, if we look at Adam when he deal with the animals, he look at the function of the animals and then he named them.
Fact.
Yeah. Again, this I didn't want to jump ahead, but this is what I'm starting to see. If I'm seeing. Okay.
Everything that has happened up to this point, he has realigned the function of it.
Yes.
So first he did, he said, when he noticed, he said, let there be light.
Mm-hmm.
And there was light.
Mm-hmm.
And the light was good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then he said, and then he called the light. What did he call the light? Day. And then he called the darkness night.
Wait a minute. He saw it. Y'all can catch it. He saw it and said, "Oh, that's good." But remember, the Hebrew, the word, I can't pronounce the word, but what we need to do, we need to think. People think that what's the word again, Yemi?
For what?
How do you pronounce it? The call.
Oh,
It was
The
quote.
Kaf and the Kaf Resh Aleph. Is that it?
Yeah, we said it's
where you
quote.
Okay. He called an assembly. So he called an assembly. So the light and the darkness came to him. He called them. They came. And then he divided it.
Yes. He didn't go to them. They came to him. See, the light in the day, look, darkness ruled over the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
For all that time, there was chaos over the face of the earth. All this time, chaos, turmoil, and it hovered over the face of the waters. Now, me and Malak already said, and so is Joseph, the waters can represent several different things. It says over the face of the deep. Mm-hmm. We understand that the Ruach hovered over it. It separated itself from it. It didn't go into it. It just hovered over it. It observed it. Mm-hmm. Then Yah said, let there be light. Mm-hmm. Because what he observed while hovering over this, he ain't light. You got to understand something. This little piece of planet was Hasatan's prison. Mm-hmm. Remember,
and this again, according to Scripture. Now, this is according to Scripture out of the book. There are some demons. I believe it's either Peter or Jude that talks about certain fallen angels that are reserved in chains in darkness until this day.
Yes. This place was a prison.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand this place was a prison,
Mm-hmm.
and all hell broke loose on this place when he sent Hasatan and a fire. And I like to say, shot him out of here like a comet, you know, onto this earth. Everything that was here was destroyed. Darkness hovered over the face of the deep. Go ahead,
Now go ahead. Let me look it up. I'm looking for it.
and
I'm gonna find it
darkness
shortly.
darkness
Keep on.
hovered
This
over
place was a prison.
Yes. This place was where but he had to realize this. He sent them here and he ignored the fact that he was here. This is the big story. I want y'all to get this in y'all's head because I know a lot of people ain't going to jive because they can't see the picture because they don't understand the scripture. He shot him to heaven and sent him here. And all chaos and all hell broke loose. And he ignored it. Void.
Mm-hmm.
He ignored it. The waste.
I got it.
Go ahead.
I got it. And again, it's to blow my mind, y'all. We were reading this and not even able to understand the context of it. I'm saying, me personally, reading this, teaching this, preaching this, and not understanding the context, not being able to connect the dots. Isaiah 14. And this is what Yemi, what Moray is describing to us. He's saying this was a place before, before what Moshe was writing in terms of what the Father called together, or what he called together out of the chaos. Isaiah 14. Verse 12, it reads, is this, and write it down. I'm not going to wait. Y'all write it down. Isaiah 14 and 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. So he wasn't in heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregations in the sides of the north. There's no north in heaven, and there's no north in Shamayim. So what north is he talking about? I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So, in the context of what we're being of what Yemi is opening up for us today, this is a part of that divide between 1:1 and 1:2. In beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And there's a chasm between 1 and 2. Okay? And the earth was void. I'm sorry, let me make sure I'm reading it correctly.
It was without form.
It says, yeah, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was up on the face of the deep. Well, why was this? Because there was a rebellion. There was a rebellion that resulted in Lucifer's fall. And Lucifer was attempting to exalt himself above the Most High.
So what did he do? So what did y'all do then?
You said what did y'all do?
Yeah. He placed order in this thing.
Divided. Yeah, he divided it. He separated.
Right. I need to divide this. I need to separate this. Now, when they say that Lucifer was the son of the morning, people have this mixed up. Think Hebraically. We're talking about morning as far as day. He was talking about a night. Remember, the day starts when?
The sun goes up.
Right. And so when they translate, you got to understand they translate stuff wrong. Because their thought is that the day starts the day. When in the Hebraic terms, the evening or the night starts a new cycle of the day, of the period, which we call day.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? It starts a new 24-hour period. So Hasatan can't be good and govern the day, because the day he just set in here was order. And we know that darkness is obscurity. How does Hasatan rule in obscurity? Behind the scenes. He pushes buttons behind the scenes. He moves in people's hearts in their darkest parts of their heart. Y'all don't deal in that. Y'all says it in the day. You remember what he says, what is done in the dark shall come to the light.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because dark is obscure, but the light, it puts things back into perspective or in order. So don't get twisted when you see he was the son of morning. I mean, he was the son of the morning. No. We're talking about Hebraic thought, time periods. When does the day begin? In the evening. So what rises in the evening? The moon. So boy, I almost shot right there. So when you sit up here and you run the lunar Sabbath, whose days are you keeping?
Either
The
one or the
days.
others. Not can only be one or the other.
That's a fact. And what we have begun to do is we want to be so righteous and so right that we skip the simplicity of the word. The word. I was having a talk with a sister this week. She was telling me, we were talking about her studying the word more, and she was saying, well, when I read the word, I don't get an understanding of it. And I think it's because when we have Western ideology, we try to make things more complicated than it's worth. Man, look, a lunar Sabbath is hard to keep up with. So why would he set his Shabbat according to a lunar Sabbath? And so this is why when he had an opportunity to teach the Hebrews when to keep Sabbath, he used something simple. Manna. When you wake up in the morning and there's double the amount of manna on the ground than there was the day before, this is the day before the Sabbath. That next day, there won't be no manna, and you need to rest. He uses simple things. What is it? He uses the simple things of the world to confound the wise. The feast days are governed by lunar cycle. Why are the feast days governed by lunar cycle? Is because, man, shoot. The
Because they're
feast days,
surrounded by agriculture.
huh?
Because they're surrounded by agriculture.
Thank you. It is the feast days are governed by the lunar cycle because of agriculture. Plus, these feasts are feasts of traveling. So the moon needs to be out in full so that they can travel and have light in the evening as well as in the day. Because listen, when you have a full moon, it's hard to sneak up on somebody. So they knew that the roads were dangerous. But when you have a full moon, people can't sneak up on you. Thieves don't do a lot of stealing when there's a full moon. That's why the lunar cycle, why he governed the feast days by lunar cycle. Those were high holy days, not the Shabbat.
Not only mention that from that perspective, Yemi, but also when we look at like the blood moons, you can only get a blood moon or something like that, or when the moon is full. You couldn't get a full blood moon on a darkened moon. So a lot of those warnings, a lot of those feast days were surrounded where they can look at the luminance in the skies and they can see it.
Correct. This is why it is so important for us to understand that the Shabbat was set on a day cycle. The Sabbaths, the high holy days were set on a cycle according to season. They were set on seasonal cycles. That's why the feasts are seasonal. That's why he uses the spring equinox to establish a new year.
Mm-hmm.
This is why he starts his count 14 days from the first moon after the equinox. 14 days after the first new moon after the spring equinox. This is when you go into what? Passover.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have Passover, then you go into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, getting all the sin out of your life. This is essential, man. I'm telling you, we look at our phones too much. And I hate to steal this from Yosh, but I gotta steal this from Yosh real quick. We are a generation of phone watchers. We pay more attention to what's in our hand than what's in front of our face.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you seen somebody at their phone and they bump into somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention also, Doc, is even when we look at the stars, depending on what place there are in the constellations, can also tell you what season you're in too. So when we go back to understanding the cycle of the stars, the sun, and the moon, we can begin to not only see the change of the season, but we can know the times of the high holy days. You know what I'm saying? So we won't have to depend on the Gregorian calendar. See, right now we're so fixated on Western the Western ideology or the Western way of keeping up with time that we forget the Most High have already said something in the Shamaim where we can keep up with the time no matter what.
But this is the problem with this, and this is what I've been facing for the last few weeks. Gregorian calendar, if you really do history behind it, was based off the Hebrew calendar because they had Hebrews in the kingdom, and the Hebrews shut it down on the Shabbat. So the Gregorian calendar was like, okay, so Gregorian, because they were on an 8-day calendar at that time. They shortened the calendar to 7 days because of the Hebrews, and they marked the Sabbath because they knew what day was the Sabbath. It doesn't matter what day was named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We know that on that 7th day is a day of rest to us. And then the cycle begins again. He marks that day so he can tell you weeks. Okay, you work these days, you rest this day, then starts a new week.
But the thing about the Hebrew calendar that's perfect, that's more perfect than any other calendar, because if you go by some of these other calendars, then you have 13 months or you have 10 months, and what happens is they have to for the slippage of the for the rotation of the moon, they have to add a week or they have to add a month every so many years. That's number one. And then number two, what happens is when we look at the way the Most High governs time by giving us the objects, the sun, the moon, and the stars, we can actually see how they modern this after the old clock, where they got the small hand, the big hand, and the little hand, and the way it goes around time. You know what I'm saying? You can actually see the blueprint that they got from the Shamaim or from the Father's creation. Not to mention that the word Sabbath or Sabbator is in over 125 languages that aligns with the 7-day creation.
But you have these people who have gotten so far into what I can say the awakening that they will put themselves to sleep. Look, certain things don't govern certain things. We got to learn how to put things into context. He sets the context for the week in the first books of the Bible. Then he sets the context behind the Sabbath. Then he shows you how to operate in the feast days later on, because he needs to put time and space into its proper position. You can't mix the two. I mean, just so happened, just like we were talking about when Hamashiach was crucified, that he was going to be crucified in the middle of the week. Well, if you go by the lunar calendar, how do you know what the middle of the week is? You don't know.
What happens is when not only that, if you go by the lunar Sabbath, what happens is you remove the 7-day week, and then you get into 8-day week, you get into 14-day week, you get into 15-day week, because again you're changing the original intent of the Sabbath. I mean of the Sabbath, but also you remove the original intent of the moon, which was to govern time, where we can understand when the feast days were coming. You know what I'm saying? High holy days coming, not the 7-day Sabbath. The 7-day Sabbath was established without a sun and the moon. You know.
That's a fact. So let's go to, what's the next word? We talked about darkness being obscurity. Then he called again. He called another assembly. And he said, so it said, and he called night. He called the darkness night. Okay, and the darkness called night. So what is night? Hebrew word is Layla.
Say for night or for darkness. For night it would be
Layla.
Layla.
Layola.
Laylola.
Okay, this word is night. Now I want you to understand what this picture is for night. And what's going on? What's going on, Nisi? What's going on, Ava? What night means, and I want you to picture this. When night comes, it's like him rolling a scroll over the sky. This is what night means, for him to roll the scroll over the sky. Mm-hmm. It comes from the Hebraic sense. It means to howl, like a wolf would. We use animals, we use agricultural things, but it means like a scroll being rolled out over the sky. So in the nighttime, the scroll of darkness is rolled over the sky, and then in the day it rolls back. Does that make sense? And there was Wahai, So Wahai means to exist. Okay. And there was morning. Okay, so we're going to the next part of this, and there was morning. This word morning is bakwa. And bakwa means to plow. Listen to me. This word morning means to plow. It also means an oxen. So the term is to break open the ground with a plow pulled by an oxen. So morning, that's what it means. And I'm trying. Why would you break open the ground? So it says Bakwar Yom. So to plow day. To plow the day.
Well, when you plow, you're dividing.
Right, but you're dividing it what?
Divide. Well, when you're plowing, you're dividing. You're breaking up the bad soil for the good soil.
For what?
Well, so number one, you're getting ready to plant, getting ready to, so you can for your harvest. So if you're going to divide the night from the day, that means that's something that the Most High is harvesting, which will probably go into feast days.
Right, but think about this. So he laid a sheet over the sky
Mhm.
or a scroll over the sky. So to start the morning, he plowed it.
Mhm.
He separated.
Okay.
So he plowed the skies open. He
Mhm.
opened it up. He plowed it. But the plow is to break the ground, to plow something means that you basically have an intent to plant,
Mhm.
which goes into the next verse. So he plowed the soil. He had the intent to plant. He called this morning, and then he said it was first or it was high. This is the first time a cod was used, and a hide means to unite something else. All things are united to something else. So think about this. This is why the Trinity is jacked up. The theory of the Trinity. So the mind, the body, and your breath, they're all one thing. They all function with one cause. Yah, the word, and the ruach all function as one. They are all ehad. They all function as one. This is why when people say that God came down in the flesh, no, he didn't. And the reason why I want to say no, he didn't, is because of the very part. If God came down and put himself in flesh, then who was Yeshua praying to?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who was Yeshua calling to when he was on the cross? When he said, "Ile lambda sabatana."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If they were one, I mean, if they were one person, what the word "echad" really means is something that is unified by character or thought.
Yeah.
Your breath carries out your life. When you breathe, showing that your body is operating functionally, it properly pushes oxygen into your lungs, causing your heart to operate functionally, which then causes your mind to operate functionally.
Things
These
on the
things
one
are
accord.
functional. The Father, see, that's why when the wrote in the New Testament that there was the Father, the Word, the Ruach, it was to bring function and understanding to the purpose of all three beings.
The one accord.
They're all on one accord. They're not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're all on one accord. They all have specific functions. The Father doesn't take on the function of the Son. Because why? Because he's the Father.
Mm-hmm.
The Son don't protect the house. The Son is the one that is over the covenant. He redeems the covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. What does the Father do? He passes on what to his Son? His wealth, his knowledge, everything. So when you look at the Word is his knowledge, his wealth, and his ideals being passed on to who? Us.
Mm-hmm.
So who is the Mashiach? Nothing but Word made flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So the Word came down from heaven, or from the Shamayim, of the Ruach, impregnated. Boy, I want to say this so bad. So I want y'all to think about this. When the word was put into the ground gave forth the first man. Don't. Then Yah breathed life, breathed his Ruach. The Ruach entered into man, gave him life, and made man in his image. It set him on what? Come on, Malak. Help your boy out. What did the Ruach set man on? The prescribed path, right?
Yeah, the mission.
And what was the mission? It was the blood-connected covenant.
Blood-connected covenant, yeah.
And what is the blood-connected covenant?
Well, okay. If we look at Hamashiach fulfilling the word becoming flesh, right? The word manifested in becoming flesh.
Correct.
The covenant that the Most High made with Adam, his seed through the covenant was supposed to also be manifested out to the word. So when we look at what's happening to us as a people, it's not the word being manifested in flesh right now. When we look at what's going on with us as a people,
think about this. We should be a symbol of God's word.
that's right. That's my point.
That's the point. We are the symbol of Yah's word. We are his living, breathing Torah. We should be.
Mm-hmm.
So how did Mashiach come? To walk out Torah so he can show us how to put Torah correctly into our lives.
Are we not walking out Torah too?
That's right. And so what we are walking out is the promises of the Father made to Abram, to Adam, to Isaac, to Yaakov, to Moshe, to Dawid, to Solomon. Throughout all the generations, the promises, we are carrying them out. We are the living and breathing testament of the word. Man, oh, I want to shout. So if the world has rejected the word, it has also rejected us. Why are we being killed? Why are we getting beat? Why are we being punished? Because we are the word manifest. The world has rejected the word. The world has rejected order. What is Hasatan's goal? To put it back the way it was before order was introduced to it. I could quit right there. Why that was?
But again, when we look at the fall of Hasatan and the Shamaim, actually, that we can see the same thing of us falling on the Eritz.
Yes.
We can see the same similarity. Do me a favor, Brother Joseph. Read Romans 8:16 for me. 8:16.
Romans 8:16. Let's see.
I'm trying to do better, Nisi. It's rough.
Romans 8:16 says, for the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yah.
Okay.
Children of Elohim.
Okay. Now, Yemi'el said this here months ago in a lesson. He said, "Are we now when Adam when Chawah went into covenant with Hasatan, though the children from that wound up going into covenant with Hasatan. So are we the children of the Most High, or are we the children of the fallen?" You kind of get what I'm going at?
Correct.
And so in let's see. How can I put this? I'm gonna just say it. Just say it. I'm just put it out there. Even in that's saying that we're all children of God.
That's
It's
my
not true. It's not
yes.
true.
Come on with it.
I was just reading in my meditation today. I was reading Matthew 13, where Hamashiach with the parables, those 7 parables of the kingdom, and in the parable of in particular parable where he talks about the wheat, the tares, he said, well, the wheat are the children of Yah, and the tares are the children of the wicked one. And then even Hamashiach himself, he was speaking to the religious rulers. They were going back and forth. He said, "You are of your father, the devil."
Mm-hmm.
Think about this. Think about this. This is what Western mindset I have you thinking. That Adam had 2 kids, one of them died, one ran off. Then they had another kid. But that's far from true. Adam had several kids. There were just 3 that were worth mentioning.
Come on with it. Come on
There
with
was
it.
only 3 that were worth mentioning.
Right.
Because those 3 served a purpose. God don't waste his breath on stuff that don't mean nothing. Or like Red Daddy would say, I ain't wasting my time on this.
Yeah.
Y'all waste his time on stuff that don't mean nothing. So his storyline goes with specific people. So imagine this. All these men that were named in the book had several sons and daughters. But there was only one that carried the torch. There was only one that was made in God's image.
That's right.
Just so happened that Yaakov had 12 of them.
That's right.
They don't even talk about poor Dinah. They talk about Dinah for 32 minutes in the whole story. Dinah got seduced, but this is the point that we're trying to make. There were more than what you believe because the other folks just don't matter. Mm-hmm. And if y'all is concerned with them, why are you concerned? The only thing he says about the other nations is don't take their ways. Mm-hmm. Because they came from the same fathers and mothers as you, but they chose to walk behind Hasatan, and the other chose to walk behind me.
That was a covenant. That's right.
These covenants, and I listened to this sister this week talk about on TikTok, she was about Paul and Paul's lies. Paul wasn't lying. What you don't understand is Paul wrote to both covenants. Mm-hmm. If you don't understand Torah, you won't understand that Paul's writings were to both covenants. Mm-hmm. He spoke to the damned in his writings, as well as those who are on the path. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With Paul, we understand Paul's primary apostleship was to the Gentile. That was his for lack of a better term, his ordination. He was sent to the Gentiles. His apostleship. That's the word I was looking for. Paul's apostleship was to the Gentiles. Now, in his journeys, he would go and he went to these different regions. He would go to the Yahudim first. That was the order, to go to the Yahudim first. And in most cases, they rejected his message. And so after that, he would go to the Gentile. And so his apostleship was to the Gentile. And this is where people get mixed up. His apostleship was to the Gentile. The other apostles, Peter, James, John, Jude, all of them, their apostleship was to the Yahudim. That's why when you read Paul and you try, like say you read Paul and you read Peter, or you read Paul and you read James, they sound like totally different. They contradict themselves. Well, they contradict themselves because we don't understand. that the Apostle Paul's apostleship was to those who were outside of the covenant, those who were outside of the commonwealth of Israel, whereas James and the other apostles, they spoke to those of us who were the covenanted children of the Most High.
Who were the Gentiles?
Hold on. I'm gonna give a script. I'm gonna give a script. Go, y'all do that. I'm gonna give a script. Go ahead.
Okay, so the scripture tells us that Hamashiach said, "I come not but for the what? The people,
The lost sheep of the house of Israel."
Correct. So Paul's journey was not to all the other nations. The Gentiles in this writing were those who were not circumcised by the 8th day, those who were Hellenized, and those living outside of the provinces of Israel. They were living in Samaria, Turkey, Asia Minor, Rome, Spain, all these places these Jews were taken and had forgotten who they were. He was going to them and trying to win them back to Yah.
Okay, do me a favor. Let's get Ephesians 1:1 and read on down to 1:3, and then jump over to chapter 2, verse 11.
Ephesians 1:1. Paul, an apostle of Hamashiach by the will of Elohim, or will of Yah, to the saints which are at Ephesus, and to the faithful in the Hamashiach. Grace be to you and peace from Yah our Father and from the Hamashiach. Blessed be the Elohim and Father of our Hamashiach, who had blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Hamashiach. You said,
read the next verse 2. Yeah, read the next verse 2.
According as he had chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love.
Okay, stop right there.
He wasn't no Gentile.
Remember, huh?
He wasn't talking to nobody but the chosen.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, to add to what you were saying, he was addressing both covenants. Now, he addressing those that know who they are, right, at this point. Now, let's go to chapter 2, verse 11.
Wherefore, remember that ye being, thank you, Sister April. Wherefore, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands.
You see what I'm saying? Read it one more time for everybody so they can get it.
Wherefore, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands.
So he would go ahead. You want me to do it? So Paul's mission was to those Jews or those Hebrews who had not taken on circumcision. They had forgot their ways. Mm-hmm. And so they were considered Gentiles because they weren't circumcised.
That's why he said, remember in time past, ye were called, because remember, all through Torah, all through script, sometimes the northern kingdom falls, sometimes the southern kingdom falls. It was going back and forward. So Paul is trying to bring back into remembrance. Hold on, Cat. Remember, Hamashiach went to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Mm-hmm. So he was taking on what Hamashiach done, and just like Hamashiach was rejected, they was rejecting Paul, because again, our people are hard. That's like right now. We doing the same thing right now. We have in Israel right now. There's a spirit amongst our brothers that don't want to deal with the northern kingdom. Talking about, they call them Hamites. There's a lot of our people over there in the motherland that are Yasha Allah. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing going on now. Is what was going on back then. Also, when we go to, I tell you what. Let me give me 1 second. Go ahead, y'all finish that conversation, right? But I was looking for something else.
Okay, okay. While you go back to that, let's circle back, going back to Genesis, where we were talking about the calling.
That's right.
Real
That's right.
quick,
That's right.
the call where he called an assembly, and so in creation he called an assembly of according to verse 5, in the Hebrew, in the picture, the picture in the Hebrew mind. He called an assembly of the light and the darkness, and he divided them. Okay,
Mm.
and he called them and gave them function, the word, and he's speaking this into order. His word is bringing order to chaos and dysfunction. And so what this does in Bereshit, again, we're given the end from the beginning, because that's basically what is happening from Genesis. When we say Genesis to Revelation, you'll see that in every instance where the Father speaks his word, and he's calling light and darkness together, whether it be the natural light, or whether it be sin versus righteousness.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
He
right.
calls them,
That's right. That's right.
calls an assembly, and he divides them.
Brother
Okay,
Joseph.
okay. Go ahead, brother.
No, what I'm about to ask you to do is read Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8 for me. To this going on with what you just said. This is going on what you just said. He called an assembly.
Okay. For ye were sometimes darkness, but now you are light in the King.
Okay.
Walk as children of light.
Again, sometimes the Most High use the elements of the world. I mean the elements or the natural to show the comparison to us as a people, because we are supposed to be a light. We're not supposed to be of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
He had a covenant with the light, so he had a covenant with us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're supposed to be a light to the Gentile. But if we are walking in our darkened state, what happens is, let's look at it right now. Even though we're not on top like we supposed to be, we people still want to follow us in music. They want to follow us in dance. They want to follow us in the sports world, entertainment world.
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine if we come back to the covenant of the Most High. Mm-hmm. If the people are following us in a fallen state or in a darkened state, just how much more when we come back to the light will the people will follow?
Yeah. Even now, as you said, just expand on what you're saying. We influence. Our influence is felt throughout the world, and our light our light in a carnal sense is seen throughout the world. You talk about the best musicians, you talk about the best athletes, you talk about the brightest minds, you talk about, when they were talking about the Hidden Figures, that movie, we were the computers.
That's right.
We were the
mathematicians.
Mathematicians. We were the ones who caused the ground to bring forth tobacco and cotton and rice, and we were doing that. And even in a modern sense, even in our fallen state, as brother Malak is saying, I'm gonna give you an example. This little girl, this little gymnast, what's her name? The little gymnast.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
This little girl is so good. She's doing stuff that they won't even allow it in the competition.
That's right.
They won't even score it.
Right.
They won't score it. They won't allow it in the competition because no one else can do it.
Exactly. The double difficulties, right?
Yeah, the degree of difficulty, no one else can do what she's doing. So she's out there, she's in practice doing stuff, practicing stuff that nobody even thought that a person could be able to do.
That's right.
And then when she go into competition, she'll do it and pull it out, but they won't even score it. And that's just a small illustration of who we are as a people. That we are the ones that set the mark, the blood connected covenant. We are the light. And we've done everything we've touched, everything we put our hands on, everything, every door that's been open to us that we've walked into, we've dominated it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Even in our fallen state now. So just like Brother Malak said, just imagine if we ever, as just a remnant of us, a good remnant of us come into the knowledge and walk in that knowledge and walk in that function in terms of the blood connected covenant. Just imagine what we will be able to do. And we can't imagine it because Isaiah told us we wouldn't be able to imagine it. We don't even consider it.
We don't even consider it. We don't even consider it.
That ass got more sense than we do. The ox have more sense than we do because we ain't even considered.
We don't consider, man.
We haven't even considered the function, and this is what we must consider. I'm going to circle back to Genesis. That when we operate according to the word and according to our calling, we bring light or we bring function to the dysfunction. And we are the only ones that are. We are the only ones that are doing that. We are the only ones that were able to do that, because the psalmist told us. He says that he teaches us. It's 147 verse 20. Is it? He gave his word unto Jacob. He not done so for any other nation. His covenant.
Yes.
So we are the nation. We are the people that have been called to do this, and we are the only ones that can do it. So we have to. And Yemi'el, Moray is having technical difficulties, so we're going to keep going, and we're going to add this practical application to how do we apply what we read out of verse 5 to our modern day situation. We've been called out of darkness. He's called the light and darkness together. He's separated. So we are called to be separate. We are called to be peculiar. We are called to be different. We are called to be set apart from the darkness. We are the light. We've been separated from the darkness. But what we want to do is we want to covenant with the darkness. We want to come into communion with the darkness, and lightness and darkness can't have any communion. You look like you getting ready to. Don't come on like that. You look like you about to have a heart attack,
bro. Man, I had to go find this mess, bro. I was like, I had to shut my phone down, reboot the phone, go find. Lightness and darkness can't have any communion. Okay, you gotta put it down because they're here in the river.
Yeah, we were keeping the seat warm for you, so go ahead. We've been called not to. We can't commune with darkness.
Right.
This is why it's so important for us, brothers and sisters, as we come into this so-called Christmas season. We can't commune with that.
This is the vital point that people are missing. Think about this. He's separating nations. Those who walk in the light and those who work in the darkness. All of this, Genesis chapter 1, is all about setting course for the nations. And go ahead.
I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, Yemi, because I'm trying to again wrapping my mind around a lot of stuff you're saying.
Yeah.
So looking at also not only the darkness, but the sun or the day and the light, and looking also the sun and the moon. A lot of times that's not just representative of the celestial bodies, but it's also representative of us as a people, as a nation.
Correct.
Again, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it because again, okay, I got where you're going.
Listen, I want y'all to understand this too. Hasatan comes after us as he comes after us real hard, because the Gentiles, in the literal sense, they already lost. They don't have a covenant to themselves. You understand what I'm saying? Esau is already lost. No covenant.
No,
No
no forgiveness. Obadiah tells us Esau is no repentance for Esau.
Right, none. And all those who follow Esau follow his same covenant. Now, I'm not going to go through the argument that Esau, man, because that ain't my place. What I'm saying is this, that Esau lives off the fat of the land. It says that. Now, there ain't but one people, the whole livelihood is based off the fat of the land, and that's them damn Arabs in Saudi Arabia. That's oil. What is the fat of the land? Oil. So them folks, them gray folks that we deal with in the United States, those are our oppressors. He clearly states that we have oppressors too. There is no communion with darkness if you're going to walk in this truth. And sometimes it hurts, but you got to shed away these lies, away from these lying people. You got to move in a mental state that is completely different than what anything else you've done. And I know it's hard, and I know it's messed up in a sense, but it's the truth. It's the truth. And I try to walk upright. I fall, mistakes. Hell, I'm dealing with my own demons as we go. But I do know the source. And if I can just get an ounce of forgiveness. I mean, man, I'm telling y'all, man, it's not deep.
Joseph, can you read Genesis chapter 37, verse 9 and 10? Genesis 37, verse 9.
When I tell you I'm hungry as a hostage, y'all go ahead.
And he dreamed. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and even the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth?
Okay. The reason why I wanted you to read that because, like I said, when Yemi was explaining to me, explaining to us that a lot of times when it talks about the sun and the moon, it's not necessarily always talking about the celestial bodies, but it's talking about us. So I just, when I saw this, I just wanted to edify that. So again, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's why, again, the illustrations that we'll say, not illustration, but the allegory and the metaphors, that's a second level of understanding. But what we love about the Hebrew language, and that's why we're attempting to learn and to teach according to the Hebrew language, because again, as Maury Yemi is teaching us, once you get the picture, you got the picture, you can get understanding.
Exactly.
That's just like if we're going down, if you driving, if you're driving down the road and you come to a red sign, a red octagon, it doesn't need to have stop. You don't have to have the word on there. If it's a red octagon, when you get to that sign, you do what? Stop. That's a symbol. You see the picture, you get the picture, so you function according to the picture. The function of the symbol is to get us to stop.
And not only that, once you stop for a second, to proceed after that. You don't just stand there.
Right. You're not going. The sign is not the place. The sign is not the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's when we get to our people are symbol literate.
That's right.
We've been what is it? conditioned away from being symbol literate, but our people respond to symbols. That's our language. That's why our language has a symbol. It has a numerical value. Has a phonetic aspect to it. It has a sound. It has a symbol, and it has a numeric value. Our language is not complex, but it's very it's deep, as opposed to what we've been trained. This is why we've been. They had to dumb us down because our language. We were the ones. Just as Brother Malak was showing us, Yosef in Genesis, he was the one that saved Egypt. Egypt didn't know we about to have a drought. We about to have we're in the midst of a famine. What do we need to do? Well, it was Joseph that had to come to them and teach them how to save grain and save corn for famine. It was Joseph that had to organize that government, that administration. Joseph that did that.
So which goes back to the point why black people running around here talking about they Egyptologists and Egypt was saved by a Hebrew. If not only was it saved by a Hebrew, it was built by Hebrews, saved by some Hebrews. For some weird reason, they just make me think, when we deal with our language, when we deal with our culture, and we look at the church, all the symbolism in the church always goes back to Egypt or to Babylon. When you look at Horus, Isis, and what's that dude's name? When you look at those Egyptian gods that made up their trinity, or you go to Babylon and you look at Nimrod,
Horus, Set.
Horus, Isis, and Osiris.
Yeah, when you look at the Father, Son, and the Virgin Mother. When you look at the Catholic Church, Mary, Mary, Jesus, and whoever their God is, Hasatan, Mary, and Jesus. Let me just put it like that, because find that scripture where it says somebody will come in the name. You know what I'm talking about?
Somebody will come in another name. You're talking about
when I came, they received me not.
You talking about Hamashiach? Something.
Yeah, there's a scripture where it talks about coming in another name. Close.
You got to give me more than that, Yemi.
You know what? We'll think about it. I'll look it up next week. I'll share it with you next week.
Okay.
We're coming up on 2 hours.
Hold on.
Malak found it.
Go to John 5:43. John 5:43.
John 5:43. Is it, I am come in my Father's name, and you receive me not? If another should come in his own name, him you receive. Is that the one you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, he said, I come in my Father's name. So Yeshua HaMashiach came in the name of his Father, and we received him not. But another came in another name, and we received him. Who is the other name? Jesus.
Yeah.
Y'all, man,
Yemi, like you said, dealing with Egyptologists. I was explaining this to brother a few days ago. Okay, they say the Egyptologists say that we didn't exist. So I asked the brother a question. I say, as a nation, do we exist in the United States as a nation? He said, yes. I said, well, tell me, in order for us to be a nation, what do we have to have? He can answer. I said, first you have to have your own language, your own land, your own money, your own military. I said, I could go on and on and on. I said, do we have that? He said, no. I said, so right now, we don't even exist. I said, even though we're here, we don't even exist. I said, so to further prove this is they had to pass a civil rights bill to give you some kind of liberty. So, in other words, if they had to pass a civil rights bill, that means you have no rights. And a nation have rights. He got mad. I said, but you say we exist. I said, I'll show you right now, even though we exist in life on paper, we don't even exist to these people.
That's a fact.
We're not a people.
Exactly.
No.
Hold on. What the scripture says? To them that would not call their people. Let's find that scripture. Then I know Yemi'el want to close this out. Let's find that.
Hey, what did Deuteronomy say? We would go in one way and flee out seven different ways.
Mm-hmm.
We came in as a people, but that's not how we're gonna leave out.
Yeah, First Peter 2:10. It says, which in times past were not a people, but are now the people of Yah, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Which going backward, and tie that as we wrap this up to a close, going backward from Peter, what Peter is speaking in reference of, I believe, let me say that I believe, this is my opinion, making reference to Psalms 83, is it, Malak?
Yes, Psalms 83, yes.
Where there was a confederate, the nations came together in confederate and said, let us do what, Malak? Remove them from being a nation?
Yeah, to have
Or the
Israel
name?
removed. Yeah, the name of Israel removed from there. Yeah.
That's in a nutshell, man. Why do we go back to this? Because now let's tie this all back. There has to be a separation between light and dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yah did this. He established it in the beginning. Why do we always go back to Genesis? Because you will never understand where you're going if you don't understand where you've been.
Mm-hmm.
Genesis is our foundation. He established the nation of Israel in Genesis, or Yasharella, however you want to say it, in Genesis.
Yemi'el. The Most High is separating the light from the darkness right now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And this is why this is the, and we got to get out here, but this is the insanity. This is Yosh calls it Christian sanity, and the insanity in Christianity is this. Well, that was the Old Testament. That was the old. That was the Old Testament. We in the New Testament now. Or that was the Old Covenant. We in the New Covenant now. Or that was back then, and this is now. Or that was under the law, and this is under grace. That's the insanity. Because what you're saying is that the Most High's word can be separated from itself.
That's right. That's right.
Let me rephrase that. Can not rephrase, but let me restate it in a form of a question. Can Yah's word be separated from itself? That's what Christianity teaches. When we say it in Christianity, when we taught in Christianity, you can't mix law and grace. They're twins. There's always been law and grace together, standing together. In our behalf, as it pertains to humans, law. Let's go back to Genesis, and we got to get off here. Genesis, that's law and grace in Genesis. Eve and Adam ate of the fruit. They broke the law. They were supposed to die. They did die, but they were supposed, the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die. The Father could have wiped them out by right, but what did he do? He slew an animal, and then he covered them. He covered them. They covered themselves. That wasn't sufficient for Yah. Yah slew an animal, and he covered them.
Come on now.
That's grace in Genesis. Before the law, before the what we call the law of Moses. That was grace. He covered them. We got to quit, Yemi'el. You got to quit.
Yeah, we got to go.
We not through, but we got to quit.
No, we're gonna start back next week. We're gonna start this back up next week. I want to tell everybody this. Stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe. You know, stop being Axel Foley. A bunch of y'all have been running around here Axel Foley. If y'all know what Axel Foley is, that's Eddie Murphy's character on I forgot the name of the movie, but Beverly Hills Cop, where he ran and put the banana in the car. You've been Axel Foley. And I'm trying to get that banana out of your tailpipe and let you see this book is bigger than you. This book is deeper than what you think. You got to dig. Only way you're gonna find Yah is if you dig. He don't want to be found. This is the thing. He don't want you. He wants you to dig. He wants you. Seek ye first the kingdom. A lot of y'all are comfortable with the kingdom that they've given you on the surface. Man, Christianity's so surface. And when you're afraid to look, when you can't even wrap around in your head that proper names are not to be translated, you already a part of the system. And so if they're not being translated, then they represent who they're supposed to represent. And I want you to remember that Germans have a god. They got a deity named Gott, which is a fish god. And evidently they got a son. He got a son, and his name is Jesus. I'm done. Abba Yah, we want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for your grace, kindness, and mercy. We want to thank you for the word. We want to thank you for Yahushua HaMashiach, who came and died for us, and that his sacrifice was not in vain. We want to thank you for awakening the remnant. We thank you for helping us, giving us the words to give the people to wake up, Jacob. Abba Yah, we just want to embrace and hold on to the thoughts that you've given us and allow us to walk according to your marvelous light. All these things we ask in your name and we pray. We say hallelujah.
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 All right. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties, and we'll see you again next week if God says that.
Shabbat shalom, family.
Shabbat shalom.
Hello.